This whole thing of denomination is interesting. 21 years ago, I was laying on the floor. We had been here probably, I don't know, maybe 6 months to Bethel, on staff at Bethel. And I was laying on the floor, and I had this powerful encounter that really has shaped some of my understanding of denominationalism and apostleships. And the Lord said to me, we're moving from denominationalism to apostleships, asking what that means. Well, first of all, I want to tell you, I never used that language, denominationalism, apostleships. And by the way, I found out later, the word apostleship is actually in the Bible a couple times, but not language I use. And I said, Lord, what does that mean? He said, denominationalism, ism, by the way, not denominations. Doesn't matter what it says over the door of your church. Matters what it says over the door of your heart. But in denominationalism, people gather when they agree, and they divide when they disagree.
Yeah.
You think about it and then the Lord gave me this example. He said, how many times does the Catholic Church split in 2,000 years? And I'm like, I don't know. And he said, well, I think to myself, I've never heard of them splitting. I find out later they split twice. Right. And he said, what do they call the leaders of their churches? Father. How many times in 500 years since Luther, the Reformation, how many times has the Protestant church split in 500 years? I mean, the real question is, how many times have the Protestant church split in the last 30 days?
Yeah, a lot. The answer is a lot.
Yeah, and then it's really I'm personally not saying Luther did anything wrong.
Yeah.
It's actually, this is a documentary, not a commentary.
Yeah.
In the sense that we're looking at history through these eyes of, okay, so Luther left the Catholic Church, nailed the 95 Theses to the door of the church, and he left out of a theological argument. I'm not saying he shouldn't have, but he should have. And we know there was lots of things going on that were not good. We get that. But he specifically left because he did not agree with these tenets of faith.
Yeah.
The challenge is that denominationalism has adopted that method of gathering. So and it's actually created a mindset. You can really see it a lot on social media. It's like, you believe this, you are a heretic. And it becomes and salvation comes through what I know, not who I know, but what I know.
Yeah.
And then you are sifted through this. Do you believe these three things? Do you believe these five things? Do you believe in this Trinity? Do you believe in? And by the way, I think if you look at Bethel's theological statement,
of faith.
That statement of faith is very traditional.
Classic Christianity. Yeah.
Classic Christianity. But my point is that people gathered when they agreed, and they divided when they disagreed. And the Lord said, but in apostleships, that's if you will, that is a structure around apostles and prophets. People don't gather primarily because they agree with each other, but they gather because of family. In other words, the church was born in a covenant. It wasn't born in a conference.
Yeah.
And so they go, there's my dad, there's my mom, my brothers, my sisters, my uncles, my cousins, and we're relationally connected. Now, does that mean that theology isn't important? Well, of course it's important. But relationship and connection and covenant and loyalty are extremely important. We'll say love is extremely important and connection. So the challenge becomes in a denominationalism church that the shepherds know that people are there because they agree.
Yeah.
So I'm actually as a teacher in a denominationalism church, I don't preach to inspire people. I preach to convince them.
Yeah.
Why? Because people who disagree leave. And so what do you have to have a disagreement? I kind of go through this in a funny way. You have to have an opinion. What do you have to have? How do you have opinion? You have to think. What do I have to make sure you don't do? In religion, and I'm not talking about the true religion that James talks about, but a religious spirit that was on the Pharisees. You can't think. You're not supposed to think. There's one person thinking for you and inspiring you to agree.
Yeah.
And I think that, that spirit has really become the mindset of 21st century Christianity. And when you think about it, Dan, we had this conversation in my office a few days ago, but I think theology is really important. I read my Bible twice a day. I've read my Bible nearly every day for 45 years. So I believe in the Bible, teach the Bible, written 15 books about the Bible. Very important. Believe it's the inherent word of God.
15 books where you use the Bible to talk about various things. They're not exactly about the Bible, but they're based on biblical truth and theology.
Biblical truth, exactly. I'm pointing out, like, this is
the foundation of
my faith. But you have to ask yourself, if you take the 21st century idea of Christianity and you superimpose it, let's say, over the 14th century, where there was no printing press, where most people didn't read, they were illiterate. There wasn't a Bible written in most languages
they could understand. Yeah.
So, and you're like, you're like, how would the people like that know things like, do you believe in the Trinity? Well, I do believe in the Trinity. I also know it's a very complex. I don't know if Peter understood the Trinity. I would say Moses probably didn't understand the Trinity. So I'm pointing out this, like, if you say, well, I'm a Jesus only person, which we aren't. You're a heretic. You can't have a relationship with God. You can't even know God. And I'm like, well, we're viewing people's relationship with God, or did they get the theology perfectly right?
Yeah.
And
which has been evolving for 2,000 years, the theology.
Exactly. And I have a feeling we're all gonna get to heaven, and we're gonna be like, we're gonna be changing our notes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Notes,
hopefully I got a few things right, but I imagine I'm gonna be changing my notes. Yeah.
So I'm simply pointing out, like, denominationalism actually creates a riskless culture, and really faith is spelled R-I-S-K. Like, you're gonna have if you're gonna live in the Spirit and move in what Jesus called signs and wonders will follow you. Yeah. But you're not going to get everything perfect.
Yeah.
You're not going to get anything perfect.